Hi boys and girls, this is Mr. Giomini here with another little helpful reminder on some different math skills. Today I'm going to focus on number properties. We have three of them that we're really going to focus on in this upcoming unit for EDM, and also my pre-algebra kids too. You should know these number properties as well. First one is the commutative property. I think of commutative, I think of the word commute. Commute means to travel back and forth to some place. Associative property, I think of the word associate. When you associate people, you talk with them, can you communicate with them in an effective manner? And then my final property is the distributive property. The distributive property, I think of the word distribute, which means to share amongst others. So if I take a look at each of these properties a little bit more in depth, the first one I'm going to talk about today is the commutative property. Simply said, it states that A plus B equals B plus A. A and B are different values. And then if I go over here, it also works for multiplication. A times B is the same as B times A, again with A and B being different values. Again, when I think of commutative property, I think of the word commute, which means to travel from one place to the other. Well, in this little illustration here, I have my house, and this bag signifies work since I carry a bag to work every day. And when I travel back and forth from home to work, from going home to work, I take the same route. It takes me 12 miles. Now, heading back from work to home, I take the exact same roads, the exact same turns from work to go home, and it also is 12 miles. So when I think of the commutative property, so for example, 9 plus 7 is equal to 7 plus 9, which goes back to A plus B equals B plus A, where A and B are going to be different values for this instance. Now, we should all know that 9 plus 7 equals 16, and because addition is commutative, it doesn't matter the order you put them in, 7 plus 9 will also equal 16. Now, looking at it in multiplication, I could say 12 times 3, this is me going from work, or from home to work, is the same as me going from work to home, is 3 times 12. And they both can be a product of 36. So again, the commutative property states that A plus B is the same as B plus A, or A times B equals B times A. Both sides are going to be equal to the same sum or same product. And again, notice the same digits are used on both sides, only the orders change. Instead of being A and B, on the other side of the equal sign, we have B plus A. Okay, next property is the associative property. This one gets a little bit more cumbersome, but not too much. So, associative property states that A plus, now look at the parentheses, B plus C is the same as A plus B in parentheses plus C. Now notice what happens here. In the first little expression here, I have the A on the outside. On the second one, I have the A on the inside. Notice here that B always stays inside the parentheses. It's that one thing that will always stay the same inside the parentheses. The A and C kind of alternate between being on the outside of parentheses or being on the inside. Now, again, just like the commutative property, the associative property, I can put with parentheses and say A times B times C is equal to A times B times C. Now, as I said earlier on the first slide, I think of the associative property as people who I talk with, who I associate with. Now, at home, notice at home, and then over here, we have the two different sides of the equation. Mr. Giomini, or I, am always in the middle. And notice the house is always in the beginning, and the work, which again is signified by the bag, is always at the end. Now, at home, I associate with my wife and daughter and my dog. Notice how we are together when I associate with that certain group of people. Now, when I get to work, obviously I associate with people like Mr. Hartwell, Miss Bandroff, Mrs. Kogan, Mrs. Moore, Miss Doglish, people of that nature. Notice how the brackets now, or they would call them with the parentheses, have now linked together so that now I associate with those people. I still associate with people at home, but when I get to work, my associations kind of change a little bit. And when I get home, my associations change a bit. So if we look at some of these in an example form. So 9 plus 8 plus 7 equals 9 plus 8 plus 7. Notice the 8 is associating with the 9. It is leaving the 7 alone. But then once I get to work, I'll call myself the 8. I am now no longer associating with my wife and daughter and dog, for instance. Now I'm associating with my colleagues. Now, if I take another step further, we notice that in parentheses, we do that first, the order of operations, PEMDAS, 9 plus 8 is 17. I bring down, because I'm not going to ignore the people from work, I'll still talk with them. But then when I get to work, notice I have now in parentheses 8 plus 7, that gives me 15. I bring down the 9. Now I have my associations over here at home and my associations over here at work. 17 plus 7 gives me 24. 9 plus 15 gives me 24. So they equal each other. So this association over here, where I associate with family first and then work, or over here when I associate with work first and then family, they will always break down to give me the same answer. Now, I can use the same for multiplication. 3 times 2 times 6 is equal to 3 times 2 times 6. Parentheses tell me what to do first. So I go 3 times 2 in the parentheses is 6. This should give me 6 times 6, which is equal to, parentheses first, 6 times 2 is 12 times 3. So take a look. I have 6 times 6 over on this side. I have 3 times 12 over on this side. Well, those both equal 36. Again, notice both sides of the equation will give me an answer of, when I do an addition, 24. When I do the multiplication form, 36. Okay. So again, think of associative property as you're talking with one set of people, and then later on you're talking with somebody else, and these are people kind of on the outs. Last one is distributive property. This states that A times B plus C is the same as A times B plus A times C. Or A times B times C is equal to A times B times A times C. I think a distributive means to give out or means to share. This picture here is great. Notice this person here. This is like my A person. And here's the B's and the C's and the D's and the E's, we'll say. Notice how he's sharing with every single person. He's sharing probably the same amount with every single person. That's what distributive property pretty much states. You're sharing something with every single person or every single digit. So I start with 1 times 2 plus 3. Now I break that down, and I know Ms. Banjoff likes to use this as the rainbow. I tend to think of it as the arrow. Either one you can use, it does not matter. So you're saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to share the 1 with the 2, and I'm going to share it with the 3, because this multiplication becomes 1 times 2 plus 1 times 3. All right. Now, another thing I could do with this problem is, because these two are common terms, 2 and 3, I can combine those inside the parentheses. So I could just get 1 times, and notice I combined a 2 and a 3 to get a 5. 1 times 5 is equal to, now this is just using that arrow, using the rainbow method. 1 times 2 plus 1 times 3. Well, 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. Now when I get the final answer, I have 5 equals 5. Okay. Now if I use this with multiplication, I'll use the same values. I have 2 times 3 in the parentheses with the 1 on the outside, so it becomes 1 times 2 times 3. Or I could break that down using the arrow method or rainbow method, however you wanted to use it. 1 times 2 times 1 times 3. Now if I take a look at both sides, notice 2 times 3 in parentheses gives me 6. I bring that 1 down. Now I have 1 times 6. Over here I said 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 was 3. I then have 6 equals 6. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit more with your number properties, the commutative, associative, and distributive. Okay, this might be something you want to watch more than once. Take care. Have a great day.